Hello, my friends. Hope you're doing well. So every once in a while, I like to just take a break from the orchestral and cinematic tracks, set aside the lo-fi hip-hop just for a minute, and just rock out. And today, I want to show you how I write super heavy, hard-hitting, ultra-tight indie rock. Writing these tracks is relatively easy for me because I'm a fairly competent guitar player. However, there's two aspects of producing these tracks which I find quite time-consuming and a bit tedious, to be honest. But there's three things in particular that have to be, pretty dialed in for this genre to work properly, for me anyway. First of all, drum programming. There's hundreds of different kits to choose from out there, and we all have our preferences. For me personally, I'm a big Addictive Drums fan, as you probably already know if you've watched any of my other videos. I'm also really into the sample pack that I recently purchased called Circles Dead 1975 drums, which are like the driest, fattest drum samples ever, and they blend beautifully with my indie kit. So indie kit on its own here. I'm using this Circles Dead sample pack here to just flesh things out, just with a kick and snare. Once I put those rough guitar ideas down, then from there it's just basically a ton of drum programming, and that takes a little while. Throwing in the accents, the drum fills, those little moments where the hi-hat opens up and closes, the cymbal crashes, getting all the parts for the transitions and the breakdowns right. It's all a bit time-consuming, but totally worth it, especially if you're going for a realistic drum sound. Once I have all the drum programming figured out, then from there it's even further sample blending. In this case, I've pulled in a kick and a snare sample from Splice, just to really flesh things out here. These 4 layers are being grouped and processed. End result, big, fat, crunchy drums. Second thing that needs to happen, guitars need to be super tight, laser tight. I play the parts pretty accurately at first, and as accurately as possible. Then I go in and make sure that everything is synced up. And to be clear, I understand that not everyone is into this type of thing. And, depending on the type of track that you're writing, you may actually want things to sound kind of loose. But for this type of high energy rock track, I just like to go in and chop up the audio and make it almost unrealistically tight. In this case, I think that approach worked pretty well. So moving down to my guitar layers here, you see all these edits? Yeah, that took a long time. And you totally don't have to do that, but in my opinion, in this case, totally worth it. And once you do the editing a few times, you get really damn fast at it. Third thing that needs to happen, and I think this is really important for rock type tracks like these, is to find some creative ways to get away from that 8-bar loop. In hip hop, it's much easier to build an entire track around a single loop, I find. But given the tempo and the vibe that I'm working with here, an 8-bar loop would likely end up being pretty tiring to listen to fairly quickly. So that's why I took some time early in the writing process to come up with a somewhat lower energy B section as well as some big transition sections. So I'll show you what I mean. So the track starts with the chorus. There's 3 choruses in the track. In between those chorus sections, we're bringing down the energy, and then I'm slowly building it back up towards the chorus. So for example, coming out of the first chorus here, there's a big dynamic shift. Bringing things back up. And before we launch into that second chorus, then there's this other transition vibe here where I'm kind of doing this drum build-up section. I also have this secondary breakdown and transition section coming into the third and final chorus. And I really take advantage of the dynamics here, bring it way down before I come back for that final push. Also, very important to mention is that I'm using a lot of synths to bring this track to life. I've got a pretty hefty combination of both Logic, Arturia, and Omnisphere patches in this track. I'm also using a pick for the bass rather than my usual muted style, which gives it a much edgier rock and roll tone. I also have a fair bit of saturation being applied to this bass in parallel. And I haven't edited this bass, not sure if I will, I kind of ran out of time for today. Nice gritty bass tone. So I should mention that next month's course for the Production Music Academy is specifically on writing indie rock music. The course is actually called Exploring Indie Pop / Rock, and the tune that I write from scratch in the course is a bit more on the pop side, less rock and roll like the one you just heard. However, in that same course, I will be including a full track breakdown and the stems for the track that you just heard in this video today. Not to mention a MIDI and sample pack designed specifically for indie rock, tips for writing catchy chord progressions, my track template, a full breakdown of all the VSTs and plugins that I use for this style, and as always, a step-by-step guide through the entire process of writing, mixing, and mastering a track from scratch. So I've just had a handful of new members join the Academy this last week as part of the Easter promotion. I just want to give those new members a huge shout out and a big welcome. But I also just want to give my subscribers here on YouTube, on this YouTube channel, a huge thank you for sticking with me and supporting me over the years. I was really stoked to break past 4,000 subs on this channel just the other day. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So that's it for today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I got to go upload this track to Motion Array right now. Hopefully it'll do well there. I'll let you guys know if it does. And in the meantime, I will see you guys soon. Take care.